Story friends. This is Kathy here again with you this week. Just coming to you. I just wanted to chat with you today a little bit about Holy Week. I can't believe we're already in Holy Week. But before we get started, let's start with a prayer. So let's see. Let me think. Should we start with the Our Father, the Hail Mary, or the Glory Be today? What do you think? Help me out. I'll try to focus on which prayer most of you are asking for. I think today it might be the Hail Mary. So let's begin with the Hail Mary today. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Well, yesterday was Palm Sunday. I'm sure most of you know that, and I hope you were able to celebrate at home. If you weren't, that's okay. You can still celebrate Palm Sunday as we get entering into this Holy Week. On the flock note that I sent out to your parents, I linked a couple of fun activities. One of them is just a little activity page for Palm Sunday for you to have some fun activities to do at home. And the other one, because we weren't able to have palms all together in church, is a little activity page where you could color a palm that says Hosanna on it right there in the middle. And then after you color it, or before, it's up to you, you can cut it out. You can copy as many of them as you want to, and you can cut them out, and you could put these around your house. You could put them on your front door. You could put them in your window to celebrate Palm Sunday, to show that we're celebrating Holy Week. And this is one fun little activity that I linked there on the flock note for your families to do together, if you'd like to. One more thing I wanted to talk to you about before we get started with our lesson for today is I also put a link for a really special resource that our Diocese of Phoenix has put out. It's called A Journey Through Holy Week for Families. And I just copied the first page and the second, one of the pages inside to show you what it looks like. You can find it on the Diocese of Phoenix website, moms and dads, grandparents, friends of ours, or you could just hit the link in the flock note that I'm going to send to you out tonight. And this is the front of it, what it looks like. But it's an awesome online resource that our diocese worked really hard on. And it has all kinds of activities to use this whole week through. This is just one of the pages. One of the pages that is about Palm Sunday looks like this. And of course, I chose the one that has Palm Sunday activities for kiddos. But all of these little icons, when you go to the website, are actually links, things you could color, things they could print out, things you can go to read a story or do an activity, even a recipe for hot cross buns, which looks amazing, which we're definitely going to try in our family. But all of the pages, 150 pages of links to music, readings for this week, activities, talks. Oh my goodness, this resource is amazing. So I hope parents, you'll be able to check this out together. A Journey Through Holy Week for Families. Just wanted to point that out to you. So let's start with the question of the day, all right? The question of the day today is, have you ever felt forgotten? I'm going to take a minute and let you just think about that. And I'm going to read that question one more time. And kids, I really want you to think about this question, all right? Have you ever felt forgotten? I know that I have felt forgotten at different times in my life. And when I was thinking about this question and talking to you about it today, I was remembering a time when I was your age, and in my neighborhood, there were a lot of kids to play with, a lot of kids to do activities with during the day, a lot of kids that if you just stepped out your front door, there would be somebody there to ride bikes with or to do roller skating with or do something fun with. So I was very lucky in my neighborhood when I grew up. But one day in particular, I remember that I was inside my house and I could hear voices outside, and everyone in my neighborhood was having a kickball game. Everyone except for me. Even boys and girls, my brothers and sisters. Can you believe that? My brother and my sister went outside and played with the neighborhood friends without me. I don't know what I was doing. I don't know where I was in the house, but I just got forgotten that day. And that feeling just, oh man, it really got me. It's a feeling that has never left me. And sometimes, even today, when I feel like I'm left out of something or I don't get invited somewhere, I can feel forgotten. And I'm sure all of us have experienced that feeling at one time or another. Even Jesus. And as you heard the gospel from yesterday's Sunday reading of Palm Sunday, we hear Jesus crying out, my God, why have you abandoned me?" So we know that even Jesus, during the hardest time of his life, felt forgotten by his Father, who is God. And I can only imagine how Jesus must have felt in that time of trial. And really, us looking in on that situation, and even me looking back at the situation, a time where I felt forgotten, as an adult now, I can look back and see that I was never forgotten, and I never will be forgotten, that God will always be with us, even when we feel like we're alone. We can trust that God is truly with us. Even when Jesus felt like he was alone, God was with him. And even in this time of uncertainty, and this time where we don't know, we might not understand exactly what's going on in the world, but we might be missing our friends, our classes, our teachers even, our activities that we're usually doing, and we might feel a little bit forgotten. We can trust that God is with us. So I really hope that during this Holy Week, you can draw close to that feeling of not being forgotten by God. And by entering into the activities this week that are going on, it will help us to remember that God is with us. So one activity that I have for you to do this week, I linked this also on our webpage, on the flock note that I'm sending out to your parents and to your families. This might look familiar to some of the kids and families out there, is a little Stations of the Cross activity for you to do. And it's just a great way to enter into Holy Week. And I would encourage and maybe even challenge the kids to color some of these pages. They're all the Stations of the Cross. Here is the little saying that we say before and after we get to each station, during each station. So that's there for you. But as it goes through the first station, the second station, all the way to the last Station of the Cross, it really helps us to remember what Jesus was going through. And a really great activity to do would be to color some of these pages and then post them up around your house and visit them as a family. Even kids, you could do this on your own. You could you ask your parents if you could print some of these out together and then make them into a book or post them around your house. And especially as we go through Holy Week, to enter into this time of how Jesus suffered, everything he had to go through during this week, and to not forget how much Jesus loved us, all right? So that's a little activity for you all to do this week as we enter into Holy Week. The last thing I want to do with you right now is I would like you to, I want to read a book with you today. This is one of my favorite books to read, and it's a great story called The Tale of Three Trees. Some of you might have this book at home. You might have heard this book before. But this is a folk tale, which means it's a story that's been handed down from person to person, and in lots of different languages, it's a folk tale. So this is a retelling of this folk tale by Angela Elwood Hunt, and it's illustrated by Tim Junk. All right, so let me get my glasses up here, and we're going to read The Tale of Three Trees. Once upon a mountaintop, three little trees stood and dreamed of what they wanted to become when they grew up. The first tree looked up at the stars, twinkling like diamonds above him. I want to hold treasure, he said. I want to be covered with gold and filled with precious stones. I will be the most beautiful treasure chest in the world. Well, the second tree looked out at the small stream trickling by on its way to the ocean. I want to be a strong sailing ship, he said. I want to travel mighty waters and carry powerful kings. I will be the strongest ship in the world. Well, the third tree looked down into the valley below where busy men and busy women worked in a busy town. I don't want to leave this mountaintop at all, she said. I want to grow so tall that when people stop to look at me, they will raise their eyes to heaven and think of God. I will be the tallest tree in the world. Well, years passed, the rains came, the sun shone, and the little trees grew tall. One day, 3 woodcutters climbed the mountain. The first woodcutter looked at the first tree and said, "This tree is beautiful. It's perfect for me." And with a swoop of his shining axe, the first tree fell. "Now I shall be made into a beautiful chest," thought the first tree. "I shall hold wonderful treasure." The second woodcutter looked at the second tree and said, "This tree is strong. It is perfect for me." With a swoop of his shining axe, the second tree fell. "Now I shall sail mighty waters," thought the second tree. "I shall be a strong ship fit for kings." The third tree felt her heart sink when the last woodcutter looked her way. She stood straight and tall and pointed bravely to the heavens. But the woodcutter never even looked up. "Any kind of tree will do for me," he muttered, and with a swoop of his shining axe, the third tree fell. The first tree rejoiced when the woodcutter brought him to a carpenter's shop. But the busy carpenter was not thinking about treasure chests. Instead, his work-worn hands fashioned the tree into a feed box for animals. The once beautiful tree was not covered with gold or filled with treasure. He was coated with sawdust and filled with hay for hungry farm animals. The second tree smiled when the woodcutter took him to a shipyard, but no mighty sailing ships were being made that day. Instead, the once strong tree was hammered and sawed into a simple fishing boat. Too small and too weak to sail an ocean or even a river, he was taken to a little lake, and every day he brought in loads of dead, smelly fish. The third tree was confused when the woodcutter cut her into strong beams and left her in a lumber yard. What happened, the once tall tree wondered. All I ever wanted to do was stay on the mountaintop and point to God. Many, many days and nights passed, and the three trees nearly forgot their dreams. But one night, golden starlight poured over the first tree as a young woman placed her newborn baby in the feed box. "I wish I could make a cradle for him," her husband whispered. The mother squeezed his hand and smiled as the starlight shone on the smooth and sturdy wood. "This manger is beautiful," she said, and suddenly the first tree knew he was holding the greatest treasure in the world. One evening, a tired traveler and his friends crowded into the old fishing boat. The traveler fell asleep as the second tree quietly sailed out into the lake. Soon a thundering and thrashing storm arose. The little tree shuddered. He knew he did not have enough strength to carry so many passengers safely through the wind and the rain. The tired man awakened. He stood up, stretched out his hand, and said, "Peace." The storm stopped as quickly as it had begun. And suddenly, the second tree knew he was carrying the King of heaven and earth. One Friday morning, the third tree was startled when her beams were yanked from the forgotten woodpile. She flinched as she was carried through an angry, jeering crowd. She shuddered when the soldiers nailed a man's hands to her. She felt ugly and harsh and cruel. But on Sunday morning, when the sun rose and the earth trembled with joy beneath her, the third tree knew that God's love had changed everything. It had made the first tree beautiful. It had made the second tree strong. And every time people thought of the third tree, they would think of God. And that was better than being the tallest tree in the world. And I love this book, and I hope you enjoyed it too. I thought it would be a perfect story for us to enter into Holy Week and think about how God's love changes everything. Boys and girls, I hope you have a great Holy Week. I'm excited to enter into this week with you in prayer and just to be with you every step of the way. So we'll see you again soon. Have a great Holy Week. Bye.